We want to be specialists in web and app development of event systems, and WebSockets is like another thing where we're not experts in any way. So I think we're using our resources in a better way, having the type of partners like Ably.
Invite People is an event management platform used by companies like Deutsche Bahn to host online webinars and conferences with tens of thousands of concurrent participants. When Invite People's HTTP long polling solution started to break down, they turned to Ably. Today, Ably's real-time infrastructure powers their chats, presence, polling, and custom features like the ability for an event host to dynamically minimize the chats and maximize, for example, a poll, drawing focus and increasing the likelihood of the participants engaging. Let's learn more about how they built it. Today, I'm speaking briefly with Eric, who is the CTO and co-founder at Invite People. Eric, it's so nice to have you.
Thank you. Fun to be here talking about Invite People, which I love to work with, and also Ably, one of our favorite providers.
Give us an idea of how many people might come to an event hosted by Invite People.
We have many different types of events. The smallest ones might be just a couple of hundred people, and the biggest ones might be up to tens of thousands of people. It's very, very different. So we need to be able to handle many different setups there for the real-time stuff and everything around it. For participant engagement to be really fun and engaging, you need it to happen instantly, so that if you send a message, it's delivered really quickly. And especially when you have big live events with lots of messages, you want that like Twitch-like stream going of messages just swishing by, and that's really nice. Would be difficult to build that with HTTP polling, actually. That would be bummer for our servers.
Eric, did you at one point consider doing that work yourself and taking responsibility for the robustness of the WebSockets and managing the infrastructure? Or did you know early on that you wanted a solution that could do that for you at scale?
We were looking at like some kind of a WebSocket solution, and as soon as digital events took off and the number of participants rise, we knew that we need to do something with the real-time features. And yes, we did some evaluation of hosting our own WebSocket solutions. We also looked at some AWS alternatives. In the end, we found Ably, and since we're a smaller development team, we knew instantly that this would be a lot smoother journey for us, being able to just focus on building the product and not building WebSocket solutions.
You were using long polling initially, it sounds like. Yeah. When did you realize that you needed a real-time infrastructure solution?
That realization came quite quickly when the number of participants in the chat rose. Good thing we're good at auto-scaling as well. So for a little while we could handle it, but to be able to build out the digital event and take more customers in that market, we knew that we needed to do something about it.
Did it start impacting the user experience, or was it more that your metrics revealed you were reaching the upper limit of the long polling?
There were a lot more latency then. So yes, it impacted user experience a lot. But back then we didn't have as much real-time features as now. So we would like play with the thought of doing everything we do now and Invite People with HTTP polling. That would be catastrophe. We started out with just as chat groups. We have many different kinds of chat, between one-on-one chats and small group chats, and then large chats. But I don't think it took more than maybe a week or something for the first release, and maybe 2 weeks when we had gotten some tweaks in, and then the chat looked the same for the participants and the users, but it was just a lot faster and our servers were a lot calmer. And I mean, we want to be specialists in web and app development of event systems, basically. And WebSockets is like another thing where we're not experts in any way. So I think we're using our resources in a better way of having the type of partners like Ably. Sometimes it's predictable because we know that we have a big event upcoming, but sometimes it's unpredictable because we don't know how much these 10,000s of participants, how engaged are they going to be? Are they going to send like 100,000 messages all at the same time? So that's when it's really nice to have Ably taking that pressure off with these spikes, because our auto scaling is it's quite fast, but it's not that fast to handle that kind of traffic increase.
Well, Eric, that all sounds fascinating and super exciting. I was hoping we could actually see a demo of the product and the places where you're using Ably. Do you ever get that thing where in a big event, do you ever see that thing where the chat is almost moving too fast to read it?
Yes, actually sometimes. And I mean, it's really fun when that happens. And it's also good now that we can breathe a little bit when it happens, because we're actually being able to handle it traffic wise quite well.
With Ably?
Yeah, exactly. On the negative side, it's impossible to read any messages. So they will just fly by, but it's really fun.
Eric, I feel like a lot of events these days, they're both online and in person, hybrid events. What does a user see when they're maybe at an event in person? Is it the same interface?
Yeah, so they could use our mobile app or using the web interface in their mobile phones. And they would pretty much be using, for some events, the exact same chat for on-site interactivity, where they can send messages to everyone and like them. But also we include some interactivity add-ons. So for instance, we have Kahoot, Mentimeter, Slido, Vvox add-ons that you can enable, and we use Ably to control the devices in a good way. So for instance, if you want to have a free chat around between the sessions and then a session starts, you could send all the participants into a interactivity session where you use an add-on together with invite people.
Nice. Can you talk to me a little bit about these presence indicators that we see next to the avatars? How do they work?
Yeah, so one of the big areas where we use Ably is for statistics and presence of participants. So one part is we want to know who's online, just to give us those little green dots always when you navigate an event. Maybe you have a meeting set up with someone, you really want to know if they're actually online for real. And also for statistics, who was online during, how many people were there, who was online for a specific session, and so forth. So for that, we use Ably to send data about the participant. So we send it to Ably, and Ably will batch it up and send it with webhooks, so that we can, in batches, put that into our databases for statistics and reporting and things like that.
What convinced you to give Ably a try and go forward with the integration?
Our main options were more lower level type of service, like the types that you can get from AWS, or even building WebSocket solutions ourselves. I mean, both those were disqualified because we just felt that Ably did such a good work. It seemed like you have thought about the different types of communications you would like to do through WebSocket, and we could just use it for anything basically in a simple way.
I think you've been using Ably since 2021. I was wondering, with this experience, having made the migration and used Ably in production under your belt, if you had any advice for other developers who might be considering a real-time solution to support their chat and real-time interactive features.
Maybe a good one is just trying it out, because it was so quick getting everything in place just to be able to build a MVP or a proof of concept or something like that. So I would say that would be my advice. And I think most types of like real-time needs would work really well with Ably.
How would you describe the equation between building something yourself versus buying it or subscribing to it to someone who is assessing whether they should roll their own solution to do with WebSockets, or if they should defer and use a service instead?
To be able to be a innovative company or product, you need to focus on what you're good at.
Yes.
And I don't think everyone can be good at infrastructure and real-time messaging and WebSockets. And at the same time, we're really good at knowing how should people engage in events, how should we enable our customers to create really good events and things like that. So I think for us, it's quite easy knowing at the right cost when to use a provider instead of using our in-house resources for that. Sometimes you have to do a little bit of infrastructure as well, but we like to keep that with a really good provider.